Okay, so my name is Mollee McCurley, and I'm going to be talking about my lesson that is specifically for seventh grade ELA. It could also be used for eighth grade, but this is more the target of what I am going to be teaching. So the things that they are going to need are a blank graphic organizer just for their thoughts and ideas, and then this lesson is specifically going to be identifying themselves through poem and self-expression. So they're going to need the poem that we are reading, which is called Where I'm From, and I will have both of these things printed out for them. To start off for this is going to be more of a sheltered instruction. It's for the intermediate and advanced level. Um, I will start out by showing a presentation of like my family, my background, my culture, everything like that. For this lesson, they should be able to analyze their own lives and the poems that we read from then and in the future through theme, imagery, and the structure of the specific poem that we went over. They will also be able to create and present their own original PowerPoints and use these specific terms that they use through the poem. The specific text that I am going to be focusing on in this lesson is establishing purpose for the reading and the self-selected text that they are going to be doing throughout school. Because not all of it is going to be like interesting to them and that they're not always going to want to read it, but finding a way to connect with it will help them. And developing and sustaining foundational language skills. This can be listening, speaking, discussion, oral. This will help their oral language through listening, speaking, and discussion with everything that we do throughout this lesson. For our language objective, they will be able to describe and explain aspects of their personal lives and use specific language and descriptive details to do so. Using this, they will present their poems and their presentations using academic language and structured sentences. And their ELPS that I'm focusing on is to narrate, describe, or explain information orally using increasingly specific and details. So this could be like anything formal, informal. Specifically for this, we're going to be using formal because they are going to be getting up in front of the class and presenting a PowerPoint slide about their lives and their culture and their families and all that. And they're also going to be writing a poem specific to the one that we're reading about that and kind of like connect the dots between those two things. So they have a fun little slideshow they can make, but also like a poem that they can think and use their minds to write about, which is what the graphic organizer will be for. They will also be identifying their language prophecy through this. It'll be done whenever they're doing their listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So this will be how I can identify what they are going to be. And I assume that they are going to be more intermediate to advanced level learners just because they've been through a couple grades to where they would start off and not be as beginners anymore, but also not as like advanced high as like high school or college would be. So my specific activity that I'm going to do is have them read the poem, and throughout this, they're going to go through in the middle of the lesson and be like, so what do y'all think that the image, theme, and all of that is? And they're going to write it down and not tell me. And then at the end of the lesson, we're going to go through what the theme and all of that is, and then they're going to compare it to what they thought and see how it could be the same thing or not the same thing. And then they're going to use their graphic organizer and start jotting down notes and ideas of what they want to use in their poem and how they want to structure it and what they want in there. Through this, it's going to take more than one class period for them to be able to create their presentations and poems. So I would give them the full next day and probably the next day, half of that at least, to work on this in class and be able to ask questions and me to be able to check up on what they're doing. So these are the main things that I want to do. And then we'll have, depending on how many students, one or two presentation days for them to get up and tell the class everything. And this will be a part of their grade. I think that this will help their this will help their language development because they're going to be using a lot of aspects. It's not just going to be writing and turning it into me. It's going to be using their minds to figure out different things. They're going to be being creative by making their PowerPoint something that people want to look at and everything. And then they're going to be using written for the poem and then they're going to present it orally. And I think it's just going to hit everything and start to progress them more or get them to a point higher than they already are at. So this is my lesson for the seventh grade ELA. And yeah.